The Obama administration had its shot on Monday night to convince House lawmakers they did exactly the right thing and did it within boundaries when it came to their decision on that gentleman, now released Taliban POW Bo Bergdahl. Call this one a shot that went about an elephant's body mass wide of the mark. House Republicans and Democrats are still more than a little furious at what was done and how it was done. Now let's add another element to the White House triage on the Bergdahl case: how the Senate Intelligence Committee was misled from the very beginning. For that and more, we welcome into Midpoint the chief analyst for LIGNET.com, a 25-year veteran of the CIA, the State Department, and the House Intelligence Committee staff, and the Newsmax Media Global Intelligence and Forecasting Service. Fred Fleitz joins us. Fred, thanks so much for being with us.
Good to be here, Ed, and congratulations on your new show.
Thank you very much, my friend. It's a pleasure, and I'm one of those guys that always likes to know a little bit about what's going on in the intelligence community. So you and I are going to talk an awful lot over the next few years. Let's start right there. The Senate Intelligence Committee misled. Give us the quick synopsis on all this and what you found out.
Well, Ed, I'm contending that the Congress, the Intelligence Committee, and the American people have been repeatedly misled about the Bergdahl deal. First, the White House said this was because of Bergdahl's safety and his health. Then they said that Congress wasn't informed in advance because the Taliban said this needs to be kept secret. Other factions may kill Bergdahl if you do anything. Senator Durbin is saying today the reason Congress wasn't informed was because the details of the deal were only made public a day in advance. Senator Feinstein has made it clear she doesn't buy any of these explanations. But I might add, if any of them were true, what the president should have done was to tell Feinstein and senior congressional leaders the minute Bergdahl was released. They didn't talk to Feinstein until 2 days after this happened. And for that reason, Feinstein and Mike Rogers on the House Intelligence Committee and other senior congressional leaders, frankly, they're furious.
What would they have to gain? That is the question that the American public wants to know if there was a cover-up and a misleading to all this.
Well, it's curious because I was on the House Intelligence Committee staff for 5 years. There were many, many sensitive things that were briefed to the members in advance before covert operations. Before the Osama bin Laden raid, Congress was informed. This was super sensitive, much more sensitive than the Bergdahl exchange. What this is about, Ed, is that the president was doing something politically controversial. He knew Congress would be opposed to it, and I think he is telegraphing his intention to close the Guantanamo Bay prison facility, empty it out before he leaves office, regardless of what Congress thinks and regardless of the law.
All right, now, we've heard this before, many times before, from Barack Obama, that he was going to close Gitmo, but 3, 4, 5 years. Why is this one any different? Why is the door open anymore for him? And what would you think that he has in mind then to make it happen this time as to why it hasn't happened before?
There's 149 dangerous inmates left at Guantanamo. No country will accept them that we trust to keep them. European states who complain right and left that this is a human rights violation, they're not going to take these guys. There are states that will take them. Yemen will take them, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, but we're very concerned that if we transfer some of these people to these states, they'll either escape or be let go. I think the president is gambling that after this fall's congressional elections, he has nothing left to lose, and he'll probably start releasing these en masse. And the most controversial inmates, I think he will release after the 2016 presidential election.
Now, there's always been a lot of discussion here when we hear dangerous, because you'll hear some people say these are dangerous individuals. They cannot be let out. They will come right back, and they will be part of another concerted attack against Americans somewhere around the world. But at the same breath, you'll hear some say, oh, come on, one was a driver for Osama bin Laden. It's not a big deal. It's not like he was an immediate up the chain. From your knowledge and from your sources, give us the facts.
The recidivism rate is 30% of released inmates from Guantanamo. Now, Obama defenders like to say, well, the recidivism rate of the 82 or so that have been released under his regime is only 8.2%. But intelligence officials point out it takes a while for us to amass the intelligence on what these guys do after they've been released. And one of the top al-Qaeda inmates who was released last week has already said that once his 1-year stay in Qatar is up, he's going to return to the fight. He's going to return to terrorism.
Isn't it fair to say here, Fred, that when you look at these guys, We know they've been involved in something, and just because of the fact they have spent years in Guantanamo festering at this point and waiting, it's almost a re-energization for these guys. You re-energize them when they get out there, and they are going to get back into some kind of a fight. Isn't it fair to say that anybody who thinks these guys are just going to walk away someplace and start a goat farm somewhere and live the rest of their life nice and quiet is about as naive as you can get?
I think that's exactly right. They're going to be welcome home as heroes. It's also worth noting that the 5 who were released last week, there's several classifications of prisoners. Some we say we can release. Some are not being released because of security back in their home country. Some have been slated never to be released. These 5 are on the indefinite detention list because it was determined by this administration they were too dangerous to release. And then see what happened last week.
What, if anything, let's get back to Guantanamo here for about the minute and a half or so that we have left here. What exactly can the opponents do? Those who say we have to keep these guys prisoners, we've got to keep them locked up. Is there anything they can do at this point? Transfer, stay Guantanamo. But you still have to come down to an eventuality that legally they're going to have to be released or something is going to have to be done. What's the end game?
It's a complicated question. Congress passed a law in late 2013 saying that no funds can be, there has to be 30 days notice for transferring Guantanamo detainees. The president attached a signing statement saying he thought this law was constitutional. There are many conservatives who agree with him because traditionally the exchange of prisoners falls within presidential authority. There's really only one way to stop the president from doing this, and that's impeachment. And I don't think that Republican leaders are going to go down that road, and the president knows it.
Would it be your best guess that when we talk about these detainees that are still left there, that they're all just not going to go free? Obviously, they have to go someplace. Or is the end game simply just that if you close Guantanamo, you have to release them? I mean, where's the reality?
I think the president will probably come up with some type of a ploy where he will release large numbers of prisoners into the jurisdiction of Yemen or Sudan and Afghanistan, and they'll stay in these countries until after he leaves office, and then they'll be released. 15
seconds as a security analyst, somebody who talks about intelligence all the time. Would you be scared if these guys were back out on the street?
I'm scared I don't think they're going to change the battle significantly, but I think they are going to further radicalize a growing al-Qaeda organization that is becoming a big threat in northern Africa.
I think that is all part of it, a once again growing al-Qaeda organization that most people don't want to seem to talk about. Fred, it is a pleasure to have you on. I'm sure we're going to do it a lot more often, my friend.
Good to be here.
Take care. Fred Fleitz from LIGNET.com, bringing us a little intelligence, something that so often is missing. Not here on Midpoint.